A simple question. How are you doing today? It seems like it's no big deal. But the overwhelming majority answer with something along the lines of, I'm doing well today. I'm doing great. I'm good. How are you? When internally, that is unlikely the actual case, because how is it possible that for everyone that you've ever met in your life, that they're all having the best day of their life every day? Now, granted, maybe they're not saying it's the best day of their life, but think about it. All too often, people are literally answering that question with, I'm doing great. Now, I recently posted this question, or this statement, I guess, on the end of Linked, which is LinkedIn. I said, how in the world is it possible that every single time that you ask someone, how are you doing, they always say, I'm great? I think it would be better if when we asked how we were doing, we would stop trying to impress and instead tell the truth. And then, of course, I said, by the way, I'm doing great today. Now, what I wasn't anticipating was what some of the comments or responses were back, where it seems like a lot of people use this question as filler to then get to the next question. So it's really just like the, hi, hello. And then instead of going into something else, they go, hi, how are you? And the person goes, oh, I'm good. Oh, okay. Well, tell me about yourself, or what's going on. And it's just this unnecessary feeder to get to that next step. So think about it from a data perspective. How many times in your life have you asked this question that you probably don't care about, right? Or you don't care what the answer is, to then get to that next question. So I ponder this question. I ask you this question. What would happen if this question of how are you today, when you don't really want to ask that question, and then you lying about the answer, by the way, what if we just started getting rid of that question and instead just went, hello, because you got to say hi to someone, hello, and then to that next question? Do you have to have that feeder in there? Do you have to have that feel-good question in there to get deeper into something? Is it necessary? Is it kind of like the weather question? Is, hey, how are you doing today, the same as, what's the weather like there? It's unnecessary talk. I remember when I first came up with the 50-10 challenge, 5 or 6 years ago, I wanted to do a series of 50 meetings, 50 phone calls, 50 conversations with people, 10 minutes or less. And a lot of people would say, that's impossible to do that because there's all this fluff talk. That is true. So in my documentation beforehand, I would get questions. I would ask what questions do people want to talk to me about? So then I wouldn't have those feeler questions. I would immediately get into it. And so instead of being like, hey, Johnny, how are you today? Oh, what's the weather like there? I would just be like, hey, John, so you said this. You said that you wanted to talk about how to market your business better around the holidays. Oh, talk deeper about that, instead of being like, 14 minutes of fluff, right? So if you're trying to get better at your conversations with people, if you're trying to get better at the conversations that you're having with people, if you're trying to have better relationships with people, I'm not saying completely remove yourself from the fluff questions, but how often are these questions really just not necessary, right? And instead be very conscious of what you're asking. Now, what's my favorite first question? You know it. It's, what are you watching on Netflix? At a networking event today, literally, when people were, having to talk, oh, what do you do? And I asked that question a couple times just to even see what would happen. It's I work in financial services, I'm a realtor, I blah, 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 whatever it is. Or then if I go, hey, well, what are you watching on Netflix? The enthusiasm level is up like 50 times. You create a real relationship with that person because now you can talk to them about something that they love. You might even be learning something new about a piece of content or a show or series or a documentary or whatever that you've never heard of. or that you've been wanting to look at and you learn more about it, and then you have this in with this person. So instead of fluffing around the question, what do you do, how's your morning, how are you feeling, what's the weather like, think about jumping in and having more authentic conversations with people that have a lot less fluff. And yeah, by the way, what are you watching on Netflix? I'd love to hear about it, because I just finished something that I'll talk about soon that I really haven't watched anything since. So stay tuned for that. Until next time, hit me up. Let me know. I want to know what you're watching on Netflix. At Zack Miller Says everywhere. Deuces.